Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli, and truly, autism is everywhere, right? And I would be remiss if I just stayed at home locally and didn't share all of the wonderful organizations around the country that do an amazing job helping our vulnerable population. And so I looked a little bit up north, and I found a lovely organization right there in Pittsburgh called Autism Caring Center. With me today, Kelly Cain, the founder and executive director of the Autism Caring Center. Hi, Kelly. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks for being on the show. I want you to tell our viewers a little bit about your family story.
So my son was diagnosed 18 years ago with autism. And over the past 12 years, I've worked heavily with him and helping him obtain the skills that he needs and the tools and the resources to gain, verbal speech and things like that. And about 7 years ago, I was asked to start a nonprofit, the Autism Caring Center. And we've just hit the ground running since then. So that's really how I.
How is your son now?
So Clayton is 21. He just completed his first semester of college. He's on break right now.
Exciting.
Yeah, he's doing very well. He's actually going for audio video. So yeah, so he's doing well. He did obtain verbal speech. He graduated from high school with his peers. And I think like any typical kid graduating high school, he didn't quite know what he was going to do yet. So it seemed to take him a while to find that path, maybe a little bit more intense for him than others. But he finally found it, and so far so good.
Audio and visual is a great opportunity for our kids too, because they just get so hyper focused. Kelly, with all of this, it kind of led you to starting the Autism Caring Center up there. Yeah. It's in Pittsburgh, right, or South Pittsburgh?
We're in Southwest Pennsylvania, about 20 miles outside of Pittsburgh.
And what does that center do?
So we provide resources, education, support, in training. Basically everything that I found that was missing, I wanted to fill the gaps. So that's what the center focuses on, is filling the gaps that we see in the community and really listening to the parents and the others that I've met along the journey as to what they need. So at this point, it's not even really for me, and it really never was. It was just for the community. So those gaps can be anything from social activities to training for businesses.
Oh, wow. So social opportunities, then you can have like a Saturday night social club where everybody can come together and just, I don't know, play games or whatnot.
Yeah, so we recently partnered with a makerspace. I don't know if you're familiar with a makerspace, but it focuses on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And they have put a makerspace in our center, which I think a lot of kiddos that are in their younger years that are diagnosed with ASD may not have exposure to that. And so this is a gradeless system of making things in those areas, which gives them plenty of time and opportunity to figure things out at a slower pace. But it's also inclusive. So it is open to the public and to our kiddos. So I think it really provides the inclusion that we crave as parents for our kids as well.
I noticed, and I don't know about you, but I noticed in this small circle here, moms are really going out and reinventing themselves. Certainly you did. I don't know your background prior to you starting the Autism Center, but I noticed that there's a big push to do like community training. And that's part of what your Autism Caring Center does. What does that look like?
So we provide autism awareness training. We provide, it's the objectives are really to just provide what is autism, because as well as I do, you tell somebody that you work in the autism community and they look at you, oh, yeah. But they don't really know what that means, right? And so, we go through the process of trying to explain to them what autism is, what the characteristics, behaviors might look like, and how they can help. If they see somebody in distress, how they could react in the job that they're in. So police officers have a different reaction than paraprofessionals or teachers, right? So we change up the training based on the organization that we're working with.
I really think all organizations need to be taught a little bit more, especially during the interview process.
Yes.
Because not everybody likes to say, "Hey, my name is Gina," and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but you kind of figure out that you might be speaking with someone neurodivergent, and then that takes a little extra time. Yeah. But it shouldn't rule them out from the position.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right. In the first 2 minutes of any interview, I think sells a story, sells a person, gives them an idea of who you are. And some of, you know, some folks on the spectrum, like you just said, like they might be looking around or looking up at the ceiling or looking down or rubbing their leg. And, you know, that might be a turnoff to an employer. Even the application process, some of the language used on the application process, you know, isn't that great. And I can speak from my own experience. My son, it said, how many hours do you want to work a week? And he put 40. And then they said, what time do you want to work? And he said 9 to 3. I was like, well, that doesn't add up, you know? And he was like, well, they asked me, but you know, it doesn't. So there's just different things, even on the application process, that I think if there was some consulting done, they might be able to weed that out in the beginning as well.
With me today, Kelly Cain. She's the founder and executive director from the Autism Caring Center up in Pittsburgh. When we get back, we're going to find out what else is popping in Pittsburgh. Stay with me. Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. With me today, Kelly Cain, the founder and executive director for the Autism Caring Center. Now, before this, I did actually do a little research on you. You know, go on and LinkBook stock you or LinkedIn stock you. You started a publication, or you were working with a publication called the Autism Network. Like, I think every city, state needs a magazine like this. Tell me a little bit about that. Is that still in publication?
I don't think so. I don't think she's still in publication. So long story short, I had to leave my job. My son was starting to regress in all the therapies and steps that we made. And I was walking through a grocery store and there was the Autism Notebook. And I brought it home and read it. And I thought I needed this when my son was 3.
Right.
And I picked it up and read through it, and I called the number and I said, I want to help you market this. Tell me what I can do. I basically asked for a job. And at first I just, did a little bit here and there, but then I grew the circulation from 2,000 copies to 22,000 copies here in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And then we held a conference, I think it was 2016. And then ultimately the following year, we decided to go our separate ways. I had rented a space for the Autism Notebook to have these little conferences throughout the year, because who wants to wait for a big conference? When you need to know something, you need to know something, right?
Right.
So when when we went our separate ways there, I had to pay my rent. So I turned that little space into a pop-up consignment store. And everybody that you knew that walked in there had a story about autism.
Isn't that great?
It was crazy. And every time a customer would leave, I'd be like, and I never worked a day of retail in my life. I don't know what I'm doing, but my daughter was in the fashion industries and she's like, oh, this consignment stores, you should. And I was like, what? And so about 6 months into it, somebody asked me to found the Autism Caring Center. And I said, nope, not doing that anymore. Just got done with the notebook, not doing that. And she's like, come on, you'd be really good at it. So I jumped in. I go full in when I do something. And about a year later, she had to leave for personal reasons. And so I've been on my own ever since. So,
and just knocking it out of the park, really connecting families with resources and tools, and having those social support groups, which are huge, not just for the teens and tweens, but then young adults and transitioning and what that can look like. Now, you are also part of the Superheroes on the Spectrum book. I feel like I'm going through collaborator one week at a time on the show. You're chapter 5 in here, and it tells your family's story. It kind of hit home when you talked a little bit about how school and what that school landscape looked like for your son, and how they kind of told you, no, you need to go to a private school. We can't really help you. I wanted to know if you could offer parents who are kind of in that same predicament some sort of hope, or maybe what your best advice would be for those parents who are just going through that school. I always tell them to bring an advocate with them, but do you have any helpful words of advice for them?
Yeah, take an advocate.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
so, I'm a talker, you're a talker. I like to talk. And I always thought that once I could learn what I needed to know about autism in the educational system, I could talk through or negotiate what I needed for my son, right?
Right.
We are their best advocates. And even still now, even in his 20s, I feel like I'm still advocating for him. Always will, right? Even if they're not on the spectrum, but we know the challenges that we have. So, I have a clear memory of skipping a mortgage payment to pay an advocate to come with me to my son's meeting. And then after that, I thought I can't do that again. And because, I was not working either. So, the financial strain's real. But if you can find somebody that has knowledge or has time to sit down and walk you through that IEP and explain to you what you're looking at and what your child deserves, accommodations, and what they need and what their rights are, you're going to pick it up and you're going to be able to learn it and you're going to be able to go into that IEP meeting really confident.
Yeah.
And I do that for families, and that's part of what I love doing here at the center. I love providing advocacy, and I love seeing the kiddos get what they want. And sometimes I don't always agree with the parents, so I always tell them straight up, I'm here for your child, not for you.
Right.
Or for the teacher, we have to make sure he gets what he needs or she gets what she needs. So I would say if you can't afford an advocate, if you need some free advocacy or, something, you could always reach out to the center. I've gone way beyond Pittsburgh to help people just because they need the help. How could you turn somebody away? So, do your research. If you can, reach out to somebody and try to take somebody with you until you understand the process and free and appropriate education and what that really stands for.
Oh, you become a quick advocate when you're mom and you're just finding out this diagnosis and you're having to start traveling through this journey we call life. Kelly, really quick, how many families does the Autism Caring Center service?
I found over the last 7 years, like people come and go, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
sure.
they make the connections that they need, or they grow out of the center, or maybe what we're offering. But I'd say on a whole, over about 300. And that could be in various areas. So some people use our Mother's Day. It was started out as the Mother's Day Conference and Retreat. Now it's the Autism Connecting Conference. We have one every spring here in Pittsburgh, and we're going to have one in Virginia in the fall. And so we connect parents that way. And then at the center with the makerspace, that's really growing there. So I'd say the other 50% are probably come through the center and at various activities we hold throughout southwestern Pennsylvania.
And I would be remiss before we let you go to also not ask. I want to ask you about your speaking engagements. You go out and you travel and you speak. You speak on autism. You speak on your Autism Caring Center. What does that look like? How can people find you for some speaking engagements?
Yeah, sure. You can get on LinkedIn or you can just email me.
Okay.
Tell me what you're looking for. But usually it just depends on what they're looking for and then kind of basing that engagement on that.
I really think the training is so very important too. And if you're in the Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania area, I think you would be remiss not to use the Autism Caring Center. How can people find that website? Where are you guys at online?
www.autismcaringcenter.com, and everything's on there. Our events, upcoming activities, the training, and how to get a hold of us is on there as well.
And Kelly, are you guys also on socials? Do you post fun pictures and things like
Oh, yeah.
that?
Sorry. So I did get a social media person, so I always try to finally got somebody to help me with that. Yes, we are on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. So we are getting there. When you first start out and you're the only person, it gets kind of hard. And then it's like you could finally let go of something and it's like, I don't have to think
65 hours a week.
It feels like it. Yeah.
Kelly Cain, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Kelly is a force. She's an autism mom. She gets it. And that's why she started the Autism Caring Center. And she has a lot of conferences coming up at the end of the year and on into next, not just for moms, but also for dads, and some fun things for families to get involved in. And who knows, you might be traveling up to the PA area and need to get in touch with Kelly. You can certainly find her online at autismcaringcenter.com. You can also find her family's story in chapter 5 of Superheroes on the Spectrum book. And seriously, it's not really a joke. I am kind of going through collaborator after collaborator inside the book, because so many people, just like myself, have reinvented ourselves in our careers to, like, you do best when you do what you know, right? And we know autism. And that's what this show is all about. So if you know somebody I need to be speaking with, make sure you have them reach out to me, Gina@gcast.com. That's GKASTS.com. And until next time, we live life with the spectrum. See ya.
Bye.